The fair has arrived, bringing all of our fractured communities back together again, and with it, a highly anticipated moment from the comics. But does it deliver? It's Alpha drawing a line in the sand. Or Pikes, really. On The Walking Dead, Season 9, Episode 15. The Calm Before. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of The Walking Dead. So, of course, spoilers, they're on their way. And don't remember, we do have our new indexing section, so if you want to jump ahead to any part of this review, just look down in the description below. There'll be a nice little table of contents, little sections marked off. You can jump ahead and check out this review in any order you like. But let's get started with our review in general here, and mostly a good episode. A lot of moments, a lot of interesting points here, but I don't know, in some ways I think it was kind of underwhelming, and perhaps that has to do with build-up. I don't know how many of you actually have read the comics and so on. There's been a lot of buzz, a lot of expectation of what is happening to the fair. And as the show itself has sort of moved towards this moment, the bringing up the fair, the importance of the fair, how, you know, the symbolism that the fair is supposed to represent these communities, you knew that something big was going to happen. And the episode itself built things up kind of in an almost overly saccharine way, almost foreshadowing the foreshadowing. Case in point is kind of the opener. I think sort of summed up much of this by itself. Our happy anniversary with Miles and his girl, sort of tracing how they went out. They were in the forest, they were in the woods, they were on their own. They found Hilltop, were accepted in. Obviously some time ago, they had talked about their fifth year anniversary. So some time ago, before things kind of went down and the distrust sort of filtered itself out. But we're taken into Hilltop, and again, each one marking these as certain anniversaries, very happy moments. We get a loving couple, they're together, now they find a place to be together, and then she's making little Hilltop coins to sort of commemorate things, and he's like, this is great, this will give people hope, you know, that's what they need, and then they're heading off, you know, to head out to the fair themselves, and really, I think, probably was about the coin point where I was like, this is way too sappy, these people have to die. I'm not being dark, it's how The Walking Dead works. And sure enough, as they're off to the fair, next thing we see is the cart pushed over, and of course the coins spread out, and then we see the little girl laying there, and Alpha sneaking down, singing her little Lydia song. Have you seen Lydia? Lydia the tattooed lady. As she's scalping the girl. So yes, of course, it ends horribly, as things tend to do in Walking Dead. But that's the hint right there. They were happy. All of the signs before were happy. Things were coming together. They had hope. And if this show has taught us anything, the moment you have hope, it's all over. And that's kind of what we had throughout the episode. We really had just, again, almost overly saccharine moments of expectation. I mean, of course, we've got I did like the opener with Carol ready to leave and everyone, they're going out, they're going to go look for Henry, and then they don't need to because Henry and Michonne and Daryl and everyone arrived. You had this great greeting and these moments, and then it was a great meeting. I liked the meeting right away. We've got to talk. And the fact that there's one thing that was such a nice point of that first initial meeting scene. That everyone was like, we got to get together. Michonne's like, we've got to get together. We got to join up. We got to have like a mutual protection pact. We've got to be there for each other. And everybody going in. And Tara talking about if they come in, if the Whisperers come, if Alpha comes, and the skin jobs, as they call them at this point, are going to come, they're going to come for Hilltop, not anyone else. All right, so we need to send somebody out there. Should we go in the morning? No, we should send them right now, as Carol said. And that was brilliant. I love that. Because, you know, whenever they wait till the next morning, that's when stuff goes down. But they didn't. They had the expectation. They could take advantage of this moment. Let's send them out now. That was great. And the whole charter bit. Again, long expected, a little drawn out, a little sappy, but a moment that has been built with. I think it was good to spend that time getting everyone's signature, Ezekiel's giant John Hancock, and everybody else signing down. You know, some moment between Michonne and Father Gabriel, you know, the head of the council should sign. You know, I mean, this was great. This was a wonderful kind of moment. Especially a little reconnection between Tara and Michonne, and she's like, well, I took something with me, that's how we kept this. So it worked. But really, it's like, then throughout all of the goodbyes, we're going to have our last moments here. I mean, we had them with Connie and her sister, and that was a very, again, kind of touching moment. But we had the moment between Alden and Enid. We had a lot of stuff between Gabriel and Rosita. And so, I mean, in some ways, there's fakes, I guess, that we're done with this, because there's a lot of emotional goodbyes and reconnections and kind of moments there to make you think, this person could go or this person could go. But the feel that it definitely had was something that's about to go down. And that really worked consistently throughout most of the episode. If it said anything, it was, this is about goodbyes, this is about there could be final moments. There was a lot of buildup, a lot of foreshadowing that so many different people could die. There was definitely going to be a split. Is it good to build that up? Yes, of course. You got to have the build-up if we're going to have the payoff to it. But it was almost too much, especially with an hour-and-a-half episode. They really, I think, kind of almost ground it down to too much. To some scenes, I was like, okay, good, I get it. People are leaving. It's going to be sad. Something's obviously going to happen. It's definitely going to be, it's definitely going to happen around the theater and the fair. One, because it's not with the group, because the group that leaves is Carol, Michonne, Daryl. Those people are all protected. Nico, all those people, nothing's going to happen to them. So you can see sort of at that expectation where the split was going to happen. Which was good, but like I said, just almost too much time, I think, spent with it. So with all of that build-up, does it pay off? Does that final moment really hit us in the gut? As there's been a lot of expectation that it would. Not really. I have to say, with all of this, again, they did sort of, like I said, they played the feints really nice. There is a lot of moments in this where you're expecting it's going to buy. Like I said, that there was the Rosita Eugene scene. Oh, they're cleaning up. One of them's got to go. We had the big goodbyes between Carol and Ezekiel. And I'm like, oh man, Ezekiel's definitely going to go. I mean, it just, all of these little moments, even amongst, like, with Connie and her sister and having that kind of moment and the concern of you left and you didn't say goodbye. Any goodbye could be our last. I mean, again, lots of expectations with how deep this could have cut. And when they come along Siddiq, we're like, Siddiq, okay, you're going to be all right. You're going to be introduction. They come up over the hill and we finally get our shot of victims. Kind of a lot of red shirts. I mean, okay, it starts off with Ozzy, all right? And you're like, oh, not Ozzy. I mean, we just met him, but Angus, he's a cool actor. I liked his character. He swung a pipe wrench really well, much more effectively than I thought it would be. But it's like, okay, but not a big loss. We just met him, and then it's like, and some other guy. Another highwayman, I'm thinking, and then and the other highwayman. Okay, this is what is it? Alec and DJ. I got my list here. I need to read some of these things. So it's like, okay, highwayman, all right, and then the next one is Frankie, and you only know it's Frankie because they said it in the scene moment before. Have you seen Frankie? And then shot to her. I would not have thought we did. I think she was the writer that was talking with Henry there in the kingdom, but okay, Frankie, we don't know who that person is, but okay, that's horrible. And then, oh, Rose, the old lady with the baby. Well, yeah, of course, that's expected. When Alpha was there at the fair and she saw them coming by, you see a little revenge there. Oh, you saved the baby, we'll get you. All right, again, still no one big. And then Addie and Rodney. And who cares about them? They were being dicks to Henry and Lydia there and pulling him away. And then the two boys coming up and like, oh, I know that you're new here, but they really like each other, so you're not going to stand in the way of that, right? You'll throw them in. I'm glad they're dead. So at that point, we've got 7 people down. There are 10 Pikes. We've got 7 people down. It's like, that's a lot of people we don't care about. Honestly, did any of you care more than a passing on any of them and even recognize half of them? I didn't. So there's 3 left. Okay, this has to be big. And then we do get to some moments. Enid. Well, that was pretty heavily foreshadowed with her scene with Alden, and it was going to be one of them. It was going to be Alden, it was going to be Luke with him, because they were playing together. Makes sense to pull Enid off. Liked Enid, long history with Carl and everything, and getting a relationship, and that's a bummer. Liked her, she's been around for a while. Not a big character, but important, an emotional hit. Then Tara. I think Tara was the big one right there. Because she wanted to leave. She was concerned about Hilltop. She just wanted to get back. And that's probably how she got suckered away. But that's the big. She's been with us. She was the next longest with us. Now Rosita and Eugene have taken the place as the oldest newer characters with us. I mean, outside of Carol and Daryl were the oldest. And Michonne. But the next of the newest ones. So that was kind of a hit. I like Tara. Was a bum to see her there. That hit. That was hard. And I was like, well, it's gotta be Ezekiel, right? I mean, this has gotta be a big one, because this is gonna kick Carol. Oh no, of course it can't be Ezekiel. It's gotta be Henry, who of course was gonna go fix the pipes and never came back. It allowed this scene for Alpha to come and sit next to Lydia there in the theater, which was creepy. That was well done. But that's it. You got 3 people that we kind of care about out of the 10, and none of them really major hits. No Rosita, no Gabriel, no Eugene, no Ezekiel. I was expecting this was going to be like a clean slate. We've got to kind of clear off some people so we can bring in some new people. The cast list is getting a little thick. So, no, I mean, yes, it's a bummer that these people died, and we've got, obviously, the Whisper War. We've got the big conflict that is coming forward, but yeah, I gotta say, leaving at that moment, not as shocking or emotionally pounding as I'd kind of hoped or thought. Underwhelming, as I said. Now, I did like Siddiq's final little speech there about, you know, they didn't die being sacrificed, they died as heroes, fighting for each other, even when they didn't know each other, they never met, they were there, they had backs, and that's how they went down. That's an invigorating speech against all of these communities. And like I said, we have a huge, obvious conflict coming up when Alpha showed Daryl the massive horde that her people were up amongst. Yeah, I mean, that's an army. They can steer hordes of walkers onto any group, onto any property. That is an impressive display of power. And in a way, for Alpha, kind. I mean, she said she doesn't want anything. She's willing to let things alone. I mean, she didn't even actually kill Lydia, which really kind of surprised me. I mean, it's her daughter. I'm glad she didn't, but setting up the battle lines, okay? These are the borders. It's the broken highway here, and then the river to the south, and the north, obviously, the line of Pikes. It's my property. You stay there with your side. I stay on my side. Everything will be fine. But you know that's not going to happen. No one's going to let this murder spree go. So this is our build-up. We have, obviously, tonight's the calm before. Next week is the storm, which will start to kick off the Whisperer War. So, yeah, a nice way to end that part. You know, rouse things up on a happy bit. But, again, like I said, just not as emotionally impactful as if you had a head of Ezekiel, Eugene's, Rosita's, et al. Even Luke. But I'm glad I like Luke. Now, Alpha coming into the fair, I thought was really interesting. Had some really great moments. I mean, obviously she is wearing the hair and dress of our little couple from the beginning, who was murdered and scalped in the cold open. But I have to ask one question with this. I mean, it was interesting seeing Alpha's sort of reaction. It was, to me, almost like stunned with all of the things that we're offering. We had a great walkthrough earlier with Lydia and Henry, you know, showing there some people doing CPR, and there's blacksmithing. We're talking about weapons, and we had the great dunk with the ball dunk with Eugene there. I mean, some weapons training. I mean, there was again a good breadth of stuff at the fair. So as Alpha was wandering around, to me it looked almost like a stunned sense of disbelief, which could possibly be almost why she reacted so strongly to make her line in the sand, you know, saying that there's nothing that they have, that the kingdom and the group and Alexandria, everyone have, that Alpha wants. I'm not entirely sure about that. It's not something that she definitely wants her people to see, if at all possible, because that might sow in some doubt. So it was interesting sort of seeing her wandering around. And I gotta ask, shouldn't she have, like, really smelled? I mean, she cleaned up nice, but after walking with the dead, it's gotta take a while to get that scent off you. And I'm not saying everybody in the zombie apocalypse, the walker apocalypse, smells nice. Perhaps it's easier to sort of blend in, not a lot of shower action going on amongst the group. But especially with that recently scalped head, would have thought there might have been a little bit more of a notice of smell. Certainly when Ezekiel comes up to speak with her. And I have to say, there was some great stuff going on. There was some great dynamics back and forth. In fact, that is what I'm calling this week's Scene of the Week! That moment between Alpha, a disguised Alpha, and Ezekiel. Just because, again, it's a quieter moment, not the big action stuff, but creepy. Oh man, Alpha was just super, super creepy. The pauses, and again, she already moves with that kind of almost like snake-like behavior. But Ezekiel trying to be so open, so welcoming, so Ezekiel. And then just Alpha just sort of playing with that. And and I just want to be able to meet the queen. I look so forward to that. Again, every little statement having this layered of meaning and just extra creep. And then especially when she's asking, I just want to get something cold. I think it's going to be a harsh winter. And a whole nother winter is coming bit going on right here for sure. But it was just really, that sort of stuck with me. I kept thinking about that since I finished the episode. While, like I said, the Pikes scene a little bit underwhelming, some of their episodes a little too saccharine-y, a little bit too much saps built in, this was just a nice dynamic between the welcoming and the creepy and the multi-layered stuff, and just wondering the danger Ezekiel's going to be in, especially when he takes her off, going to be out by herself. What's going to happen? And build up that, again, Ezekiel interpretation that something bad was going to happen to him. Just, I think, a really just a well-done acting scene right now. Set tone beautifully. All right, just a couple of small things. One, I love Jerry. I just wanted to say that. But I also love the fact that he had a whole acronym spelled out for FAIR. You know, the First Allegiance Inter-Community. I can't even remember what the stuff that he had. Ezekiel was right. It was too long. It was too drawn out. The FAIR for New Beginnings, much shorter, rolls off the tongue a little better. But the fact that that Jerry had a whole title for it, and it was an acronym for FAIR, I appreciate that. We're learning more and more about our newest group of Connie and Luke and Magda, Nika, and everyone. One here we're hitting on is that Connie has some past with the child. Again, I know there might be comic stuff here. We're focusing on the show. But a nice kind of moment here of how her response to seeing the baby and why she had to get involved, and that there was all these suppressed emotions, and that sort of brought things up. Again, there was a nice insight, a nice interaction there, seeing not only the concern of you can't run off without saying goodbye, not in this world, but also her sort of hey, this brought up a lot of things. We're getting some great insight into the character, and I think that was a really nicely laid out. Not overly done, just lets us know motivation, lets us connect emotionally, but they didn't dwell on it too long. So, good bit of information to know, and very, I think, well presented. And speaking of Connie, there does seem to be maybe a little bit more of a connection between her and Daryl developing. I think they worked well together. Choke Point sort of proved that. But Daryl was sort of dwelling eyes on Connie when they were saying goodbye, and he asked her to watch after dogs, so I think that says it all right there. One sequence that did kind of annoy me a little bit was the ambush with Daryl and Michonne and Carol and everybody. I mean, just because we had a quick night jump, and I know they were using this as sort of do a little time play and tell this part of the story and then go back to earlier in the day. And I think that little bit worked well. But it was just such a sharp jump from talking with Ozzy and finding the wreckage down there on the side of the road, then going off to sort of find the trail. It was like, just how far into the woods are you going? I think they were playing that was kind of dusk-ish when they found it, so maybe not too long. It just, when you go from that seeming daytime to obviously darker night, it seems like a lot of time has passed. And I was just like, how far into the woods are they going? And then I also thought the subsequent ambush and fight back, I didn't think that it was done well. The close-up and the stabbing, and you're just seeing actions and faces, and I expect a little bit more action from the show. And yeah, I know they were covering a lot in this episode, but between that and the kind of CGI blood spray in front of the scene, it made it look a little cheap and rushed. It was almost like, just have them surrounded and drop their weapons as opposed to doing a cheesy fight that just doesn't look great, and then have them surrender. I just didn't like how that was done. Alright, like I had said, I am really bummed about Tara. That's probably the one loss in the whole Pike setup that actually has any personal connection with me. I like the character. I liked Masterson in the role. But I am wondering, did they kill her in order to get Daryl to be the new leader of Hilltop? Because they seem to be kind of pushing that a little bit with Daryl's last visit and how he sort of connected and was sort of taking up a leadership position, certainly the one going out to speak with Alpha and such. So, again, sad that Tara's gone, but wondering if this is all meant so that Daryl now has to step up, come out of the woods. I know he was invited to stay at Kingdom, but is this now he's going to be, no, I have to be at Hilltop, they need a leader, and I'm the one to do it. I think he will be welcomed by everyone. But just a thought. Alright, so as with our final shot of the Hilltop necklace being left at the base of the pike where Henry was, and a little snow wisps dropping down in front of it, winter is here! And the Night King is coming for... No, that's that's Game of Thrones. It's in a couple more weeks. But winter is coming for Alexandria, for The Walking Dead, for the Kingdom, for everyone here. And we are about to set off on, I think, what we're going to kick off next episode, the big conflict. Everyone's going to gear up. We are heading into the Whisper War, which most likely is what's going to cover most of Season 10. So my expectation for next week is it's going to be the big setup. Like I said, this was the calm before. Next week is the storm, and that should be the kickoff. I don't think, I think we'll probably be heading pretty quickly into it. But that is going to wrap things up for now. Got some losses, not some big ones, a little bit of emotional hit, but not as big as we were thinking. Perhaps that just means a lot more deaths to come in the upcoming war. I guess you got to have bodies if you're going to have a war, because people got to die. But that is going to wrap things up for us. Thank you, as always, for joining me with this review. And if you enjoyed it, please go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, and comments, toss those right down in the section below. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. Please subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Quick and easy one button press. You'll catch all these reviews, and we'll throw up a couple of our older ones that you can check out right there. So, that's going to be it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.